Me too, because I'm on. Okay.
All right, I'm like ready.
All right. Me too. We're live, so we can say good morning.
Awesome. Woohoo, we're live.
Okay.
All right, so we're
All
gonna
right,
make
I'm
sure
like
we're
ready.
muted.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
so
That is,
we're streaming live, and I'm noticing I don't look like Wilson today, so we'll see if the recording's working. But hey, welcome everyone to the Game Changing Work channel.
Oh yeah.
And we are going to talk about personality and work motivation. We thought this would be an interesting topic because we know we are so different and we're so complex as human beings that what we go through and what we are as an individual can affect even anyone around us. And then it's like, well, how do I work with someone that is different from me? And I'm going to talk about a couple of things that Roxana, you and I were actually talking about before we got on air, is self-transformation and awareness, where you're starting to come in and your eyes are wide open to your environment around you. And when you start going through this personal development and improvement in your personality, which these are where your behaviors sit, right? not the innate of who you are, but I'm talking about the behaviors of how you're actually projecting yourself as an individual. You start to realize it starts to rub with other individuals, because now you're going, God, they're so negative. Gosh, why can't they control their emotions?
And it's funny that you say that, because as you know, I work a lot with teams. That's my great passion, to help them understand how they're different and how that's good for them, how they can really build on that. But to build on that, you need to be able to understand how you're different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and we do a lot, and we can talk about it, but definitely we know there are a lot of personality assessments, team role assessments, the GC index that measures impact. So when we put when we put all of that together, it's always great to hear them. Also, that's why whenever I ask you to give me that, then you're telling me stuff about the deadline and about how we need to send that over to the client, and I couldn't care less, because I cannot send anything to the client until it's perfect. And you've got all of the tensions that come from these differences, and then once people understand how they work and how everyone around them works, then it clicks, and they know how to talk to each other. They know, I will know how to ask you about something when I know what's important to you.
And it's not necessarily personality.
Exactly.
It's personality is kind of like the middle of the movie, as one of our fellow GCologists has always said to me. And it's, you want to understand why somebody is a certain way. And so I had that Scrum Master webinar yesterday. And one of the things that my takeaways of realization, and I probably didn't do as a good job, and this is where my next one that we'll talk about later when we close up the show, is really about stop doing things that you're not. And you can't say, oh, I think I'm a playmaker, but I want to be able to be a polisher, right? And focus on continuous improvement. No, you can't make yourself do something. And well, let me say it better. You can make yourself do something, but here's what ends up happening. You're setting yourself for expectations that aren't realistic. What is realistic is where you actually want to put your energy as your being of who you are based on your internal values and beliefs. That's why you feel burnt out. That's why you feel frustrated. And that's why you're not motivated. You actually get demotivated. Now, where the personality comes in is if you can tie those two together, right? Now you know why. And then you go, okay, like you and I, right? We have the exact same GC index profile. We're both game changer and strategists. And if I do implementer things, I know that in my behaviors and personalities of what comes out, I know I need to shine as my game changer.
Yeah.
I know I need to. And what I do is I work on my behaviors and personalities around that so I can actually do the things that I need to implement. But I'm going to tell you right now, I never try to be just an implementer and do mundane tasks. I get actually very frustrated. And so what I've learned is mindset and shift of expectation that, and I put this post on LinkedIn is, what am I willing to do and what am I not willing to do? And you really have to get into your subconscious mind and get real and get honest with yourself. And this is where behaviors, how you act, and your motivation, it really gets deep. And when we start to peel those layers of really understanding who you are and what you really want to do is huge. Because if we start with the why, all the things that we do to improve your behaviors, right, and your skill sets are going to be so much more meaningful and impactful and effective of how you get to action and how you react to everything in your life and at work.
Exactly. And understand what it is that you can do that actually helps you in getting the result that you want to get, because that's what we're talking about. We talk about, when we talk about expectations, we talk about results that we expect because we're doing something. And I remember when I was working in corporate, and again, so I'm game changing strategist. I'm very much focused on changing the environment and changing things, coming up with original ideas and doing things differently. That's so important to me. I was doing budgets. So this time of the year, and I think there's a lot of people out there who do budgeting, because I was managing the whole learning and development department. So I was doing the whole budgeting for all of the offices that were spread out across Europe. So for me, imagine that. Imagine me with this game-changing approach doing budgeting and it takes, that's an exercise that takes maybe a couple of weeks, because you have to figure out and then you have to tweak and then you have to talk to people and everything. So for me to be able to go through that exercise and finalize it and really come up with something that I want to work with and that I'm happy with, I have to think about it in terms of what can I do that is going to improve the life of the organization, the life of people in this company.
You had to put your own unique spin on it.
Exactly. I was looking at how the possibilities that I'm putting in there are going to change the game for people inside the company, and that was helping me get excited about it. So now when we talk about that's what I like about the GC index, and what it does is it helps you understand why you're doing the things that you're doing the way that you're doing them, and why other people, maybe they work on the same thing, but they do it differently.
And there's a lot of, and just to debunk some of the misconceptions, a lot of people, when we say the word psychometric and what might have you, and all my talks, I always put the Peter Dill's neuroprogramming language change logical model up there, which I've learned on my Happy and Mondays program with Mimi. And when she showed this, I was like, ding, like the light bulb went on, with me, of being very creative, of seeing the possibilities. I was able to go, oh my gosh, this explains so much, because there's a lot of strength finders out there. There's a lot of, I introduced you to that motivation finder, but they are psychometrics, and psychometrics sit in the behavior section of where you change as an individual. So when we start to talk about purpose, which that's like a hot topic with people and what might have you, there's that layer where the value of beliefs, right? So part of that exercise in your purpose is really understanding what your core personal values are, right? And you kind of have to walk through that. And then you get higher and higher of what's my life purpose, right? Well, but I guess my point is there are different things that people will talk about why when you read any of that marketing or what might have you. But at the end of the day, I've taken them all that I can actually get to without, oh, hey, we have somebody, Fabian, hey, what's up? Is that one of your connections?
Yeah, hi.
Awesome. So any of you that, if you have any things
Ask
to
your
comment when we're
questions.
talking, we definitely love it. I think I just got giddy. We got interaction engagement. So
we need to celebrate that. So thank you.
Yeah, I know. That totally was shiny object there for me. At the end of the day, this is getting to the root of who you are, not why you do things in a way of behavior. This is above there. Now, you and I don't, what was your results? Did you do that motivation finder one I sent you?
Yeah, I did.
I always send her tons of assessments because I'm so curious if she's the same as me.
And by the way, we can share with, if you guys are interested, just let us know, because we have a lot of things that are out there and that we found super useful. So for me, the main motivator, I think, was freedom, and it was supported by growth. And it kind of,
that's where it was different between you and I.
Yeah, I mean, it super resonated with me because I always love to be free to come up with ideas and change the environment and everything, but I needed to feel that I needed to feel the growth. And that's why I guess I chose learning and development and the whole career bit. And that's where I love to see growth in people, in teams that I work with, right? Take them from here and grow them to something different, or something better, or something that they want to be. So it's like, for me, and it aligned with my game-changing profile.
Yeah, and so I'm a game changer. And when I did that motivation, since we're talking about work motivation here, mine was innovation. That was mine. I mean, it was almost like a 10. And this is why everyone that I talk to, I probably drive them crazy that I throw ideas. What did you think about this? And, I even had someone say, well, Veronica, it's your idea to do something. Yeah, because I can't help myself. That is where my head is. Now, my demotivator was flexibility.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm into now being a career life empowerment coach, is because I want people to be able to feel like they have choices in career and life. Because if you're wanting that flexibility more to be with your family or what might have you, now that could be either working for a company that believes in having flexibility, right? And there's a lot of things that flexibility can mean, or it could be that you want to be an entrepreneur. So for me, I've tried both. And ultimately, I really want to be an entrepreneur because no one really can satisfy this huge desire of freedom and the flexibility for me. And I don't like tradition.
Yeah.
That was another devoter for me. And that was opposite of you, where for me, I buck the system all the time. I mean, I think probably some conversations we've had, Roxanne, and you're probably like, whoa, she's a disruptor. I do. I don't like the norm. And so when you're working in organizations and they have their rules, right, and the way that they work and their culture, that's why I always go like this, because I'm not really good with traditional thinking.
Yeah. I know. And I can see that, like, every time we talk, I know that you're not good with traditional thinking.
I got married between the meetings of work. Okay. So if anyone knows me personally, that's how I got married. It was between meetings. I got dressed. I had this Chinese dress that when I was in Beijing visiting my best friend, this white dress, pretty with flowers. And I was all dressed up and everyone was like, what are you doing, Veronica? And I was like, oh, I'm getting married at noon.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
That's
so. See, so We have actually one comment here from Fabian is not only next year budget, but just try to prepare a business strategy. And that's a good topic. And again, I would go back to talking about the GC index a little bit again, because you might have people who are in roles where they need to come up with the budgeting and the strategy and put everything in place. And what do you do if the strategist is not the strategist score is not high, or the strategist preference or inclination? And I think that's where it helps. For me, the strategist came second, and it supported the game changer in me.
Yeah, because
But,
it's you have
you
to do
know,
some logical pattern thinking when you come to budget.
exactly. And think about priorities as well. That's where I'm struggling, because I have so many ideas and I want to do everything at once, because I think I think all of the ideas are good, right? So that's what happens with game changers. They see it's like oh, look, a butterfly, let's go. And it's the same thing. But for me, the strategist is the one that helps prioritize and understand, do we have the resources right now? Is it a good time right now? I mean, it might be a good idea, but if the timing is wrong, then you're not going to get 100% results out of that idea. So that's where the strategist comes in. And it's good to know who can help you, who might be a better strategist than you, who comes up and asks you these questions, even if you don't like them. These are
Mhm.
crucial questions for when you need to put a whole strategy in place. So look for those people who might be asking maybe some uncomfortable questions that actually help you. Okay, we have this idea which might be game changing. It might be our competitive edge. Let's do it in the new year rather than now at year end, because it might have a better impact then. So that's where you want to know how people on your team work. And I like that you always say that it's not a psychometric and it's not related to personalities, because I always have people say, well, it's good for you because you're an extrovert and I'm an introvert. I can't do what you do. Well, actually, let me break it to you. I was a huge introvert.
And I'm an extrovert.
You're an extrovert. Now I'm almost like I'm an ambivert. What would you call an ambivert? I need my time to recuperate with myself. I need my isolation. I like my isolation sometime. And there are times where I like to do this and where I like to talk to people and just put myself out there. Personality has nothing to do with the kind of impact that you can make. You
Yeah,
can
and
be
you're
an
talking,
introvert and be a game changer or polisher, strategist, or whatever. The
Mhm.
outcome is going to be the same. Doesn't matter your personality.
And if we kind of connect it back, oh, strategy me it about the the many careers I had. So I'm a serial career job jumper. Ever since I got in, but I was really good at when I would be a project manager, and even when I was a scrum master in the agile world, because I was able to connect the dots, and so I was very strategic. I'm actually one of those people that I kicked the pants out of my husband with Stratego. Okay. I probably should. I'm very strategic. And maybe not as somebody else, but that game changer of me being very creative and being very strategic at the same time is actually how I shine. And when I was a project manager, I saw the different possibilities and I also saw how things connected.
Mhm.
And so I was always able to kind of see 10 steps forward of what could happen. I used to play scenarios out in my head and I would try to be proactive a lot or get people and say, well, why aren't we thinking about this now? So one of the things as a project manager is thinking about risks. Well, when you don't have a systems thinking approach, right? And this is something I teach even today, and as an agile coaching and trying to teach scrum masters or RTEs and all these other different agile jobs roles that they have, is that you have to, and some people it's almost like oh my God, why can't you see this? Why don't you want to spend your energy on this? But no, Veronica, it's because I bet you if I were to measure their impact, they probably aren't really high as a strategist and they don't want to put their energy into it. So, for example, with work and personality and motivation, they might be more about the work itself, like doing the tasks, that they can't get their head out to actually see the big picture. This is why leaders or product managers, people that are in strategy type positions, fare so much better with some high inclination as a strategist because they are big picture thinkers. They actually see the big picture, how everything connects, while others don't step out and they're always at like the 10,000 foot view.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that reminds me why this is important also, not just when you're in the role or on the job, but also if you're leading a team, you want to grow the team, you want to scale. It's important for when you bring new people that you bring them for the impact that you want them to make, that's aligned with what you're trying to achieve as a business or as a team or as an organization.
Hiring. Now that's a whole like, woo woo, let's open that can.
I mean,
okay, if you look at my resume, I'm pretty good at, you see all these things I've done, delivery or whatever. I'm full of it. I'm an implementer too. And I would rather get other people to do the work.
So implementer two, not an implementer two.
yeah. Two, the number.
That's a low score. That's a very low
score. What I'm trying to say is, you can have a resume that has all these skill sets and experience. You also can be the biggest, greatest bullshitter as an interviewer to convince the manager. And even if the questions, how would you handle this? If you're really good at answering, you can actually fool them. I've done it. And just because I want the job, if I really wanted the job, okay, strategist, game changer, I knew how to get it because I was like, okay, what do they want to hear? And that's wrong because you know what ends up happening? I get into the job and then I get demotivated and frustrated and then I end up leaving.
Exactly. And by the way, but you can't, so on that point, you can also, when you look at the job and you think, okay, do I want this job or not? What is that? And those are some questions that you can ask during the interview so that you know that that's the right kind of job for you.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Right.
So this is why it's so important to get clear of what really motivates you as a person. Of course, this is the career, life, and empowerment person in me. And why this is so dear to my heart and for you in companies is HR managers, right? Why it's so important for you to get really centered around this topic because it's a win-win situation. You will get more motivated employees and they will actually put their energy and give you the best. They will give you the best. Now, I was raised, my father was in HR and work ethic was a big thing. So I'm going to give you my good work ethic. But I'm talking about my passion and what really makes me shine in my best work. So I don't want people to not understand the difference between, oh, I have good work ethic and I go to work and I do the job and do that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the difference of the results of that work.
Yeah. And I like that so much. Because that's another question that I get from people who manage people in teams and say, how can I motivate my team, especially now? And the first question really is, what motivates you? Because if you don't know what motivates you, and if you don't understand how that works for you, you cannot. And here's the thing, you cannot motivate your team. They can motivate themselves if they find the right environment, if they find out, first of all, how they get motivated and engaged, and then create that kind of environment. Because we're talking about, and when we talk about it, we talk about culture, and that's another topic, which is created by people. But it all starts with you. right? It always starts with you, because that's when you can understand, oh, so that's why they act the way they act. That's why they say things that they say. And maybe that's why they don't like it when I ask them this. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we are getting close to the end. We're trying to be better at wrapping up
Okay.
timely. Yeah. Sticking to schedule and the way we are, because that's such a game changer strategist, right? If we probably one of us was an implementer, we'd probably drive them crazy, be like, we end at 8:55.
But they would probably also help us stay on time. I think.
So, and the way that we do it is discipline.
Yeah.
And so, like I told myself, I'm going to watch the clock and we're going to do it. So we have our YouTube channel. It's the best way to stay engaged in what we're doing. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next week, I know that on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about resumes and yay or nay. If we, what does the future hold for resumes out there? So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday next week, and then I'll get the rest of the week out. I usually on Fridays, if you know my schedule and routine, I usually publish all of the next week's at some point on today. Today is Friday.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with me or you as we wrap up?
I'm gonna start with whatever we find first. Okay, we have Agile.
I do that all the time. I'll start talking and I'm like, oh, that's not you, not me. So I am continuing, I'm getting clear on, again, I'm a career and life empowerment coach. So it's all about empowerment. And so when I continue down, when we talk about agile careers, it's about empowerment. And so the next one that we're going to be talking about is stop trying to do the things that are not you. And this is all about getting real about who you are and how to make you shine and really be that career magnet that you can be. Because if you're always settling and doing things that are really not you, this is why you get what you get. But those of you know, and your eyes have opened up being in agile, and you're starting to see that there's more to you than what you're doing. So come to my webinar. We're going to start unpeeling that onion and start talking about stop doing the things that are not you. And it's on November 18th at 4 p.m.
So let me try and be the promoter that you are actually, and say that this is not just for people in Agile, because what you talk about on the webinar connected with me. I was on your webinar. I watched your webinar actually after, because I missed the live. But it was awesome because it explains, you take everything step by step. So, and it goes through behaviors and personality and values and beliefs and everything. So even if you're not in Agile, this will be eye-opening. So go ahead. And
and eventually it will be a career empowerment series. But what I want to do is finish up the Agile piece for the Agile folks. So, but it really is about career and life empowerment, because at the end of the day, if you're in the driver's seat and knowing you have choices, both career and life, because we believe it's no different, you will have a life of abundance and be happier.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think we make a pretty good case study, because we're talking about personality and work motivation. And with our GC index profile, that's the same.
Yeah, and I love how when I do Agile things, Roxana doesn't know anything about Agile, so I want to make sure that's clear. So I love the yin and the yang about that.
But it's like we have some similar expressions, because when we both talk about eyes wide open, we both talk about being in the driver's seat. So, okay. So, and by the way, talking about being in the driver's seat.
This is also good for Agile.
This is also good for Agile. And for anyone else who manages people in teams, because what we do, so this is what I'm starting here, is a game-changing global community of learning and networking and brainstorming, coaching, inspiration. I'm planning to get the best speakers out there and come in and speak to the group, speaking possibilities and opportunities for people who are members of the group. And a lot of you have over like 250 online courses that you can choose from in leadership and sales and customer service, the GC index and all of the strategy around it. So, and the community of peers that you can talk to. So I'm trying to create a safe space for people who manage people in teams so they can brainstorm and find solutions together as we move through, I don't know, maybe yet another change or two or three. So
Yeah.
let's drive that car together rather than let the car drive us. So
Yeah. And so here comes the promoter in me. Is how many of you have ever felt alone as a leader? And in Agile, we have a lot of middle management. And I work a lot in that space of middle management. And there's a lot of things that are there, what we call agile leadership and all of these things, but they tend to be a little higher. You don't tend to get the middle management people, the people that are boots on the ground, the direct managers of the people that are the workers, right? The people doing that work. And they're always feeling like they're frozen, isolated, and they don't have that support. And so I'm going to wrap this up and say, if you are in the Agile community, and those of you that follow me, go to Roxana's webinar, check it out, because this is an opportunity for you not to feel like you're alone. Because the people that actually are the most forgotten in an organization is middle management.
yeah, that's why I started the whole thing, because I saw that and I know the struggle. So that being said, I think this time we're on almost on time. Well, anyway, we're getting better. So
do we really care? I don't think we do. I think that's what really doesn't motivate us. We don't care. I'm like the woman of flexibility. I don't really care.
So for people who need to get back to work, I want them to be able to watch us until the end. That's all.
I know, but if I'm 1 minute over, for me, it's like, is the world going to end? Really?
No, it's not.
But we'll see you guys. The disruptor in me will be quiet.
No, don't be. We need disruptors. No, don't be quiet. Okay. So
it'll last for 5 seconds. Trust me. Don't worry, folks. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.